Today we are traveling. We're traveling in a little bit of a unique way because we typically think about travel like a passport, an airplane or car, road trip, going somewhere. And that's one of the great things of our times, being able to travel the planet and experience different cultures. We're lucky in many, many ways. And another way that we're lucky is because we've got this thing called science. And science allows us to travel in a different way. It allows us to travel through space by watching the stars. And now we've got incredible telescopes in space that have no ambient light around them. And through that complete darkness of space, they can see really, really far. What's beyond our solar system, what's beyond our galaxy, the galaxies far away from us that we probably will never be able to visit. But we can visit them by observing, because light comes to us, and because their light comes to us, we can by proxy visit those places just by watching them. Science gives us another tool, which is traveling through time. Of course, when we watch the faraway galaxies, the light has taken so long to come to us that we are seeing those galaxies many, many years from the time today. We're seeing millions of years before this happened. So we travel through time as much as we travel through space when we observe faraway planets, galaxies, objects, just because of the speed of light. Another trace of our past are all of the fossils. There are many fossils on the planet, and of course, one of the big events of our faraway past is the extinction of the dinosaur species. One of the most mysterious events that happened with those creatures that were so big and then suddenly they were gone. And that happened about 66 million years ago. So we're traveling today to that time, 66 million years ago. And the scientific community has asked itself, well, how come the dinosaurs died? What triggered their extinction? And we're still not sure right now, but the clues are accumulating, and this year there's been a few more clues. So there are two main theories about the dinosaurs extinction. The first theory is the scientists looked at the time that they disappeared, and then they asked themselves, well, what else happened at that time? And if something else happened at that time that was a significant change in the ecosystem, then maybe that's the reason that the dinosaurs died. And they found two things so far. They found that an asteroid hit the Earth about the same time as the dinosaurs died. And they found the traces of that asteroid through a very large crater called the Chicxulub Crater. Watch my pronunciation, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. But basically there's a very large crater in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. So around the time that the dinosaurs died, that asteroid bombarded the planet, created a very large emission of debris all over the atmosphere, all over the planet. And the prevailing theory for the death of the dinosaurs is that the ashes and the debris covered the air so much that the temperature dropped because the sunlight couldn't get through those sort of dust clouds. And so as a result of losing temperature, the planet cooled down and the dinosaurs didn't make it. In fact, most of the big species, not just the dinosaurs, but most of the big species also died. According to Science magazine, basically I'm giving you this little story from Science magazine. Anything larger than a beaver died, and so it was an extinction of the large species, but the small ones made it through. There's another theory, which is instead of cold for about 2 years from these debris, the other theory is that there was some volcanic activity. And there is a significant trace of volcanic activity in the Deccan region around India that released a lot of CO2, a lot of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And of course, we're looking at millions of years. We're looking at 66 million years ago. That coincides with the crater and the asteroid. The volcanic eruptions also coincide within a few 100,000 years. So a few 100,000 years is a lot of time in the scale of our human species. If we just look 100,000 years from today, that's a long time ago. But out of 66 million, 100,000 years is not that much. And so they've got another theory, which is that the volcanic activity released a lot of carbon dioxide, and instead of cooling down the planet, it raised the temperature. It raised the temperature about 10 Celsius degrees for several years. And if that's true, then one of these two, or both, created the conditions for the dinosaurs to disappear. Now you might say, what's new? And so what's new is that the scientists have been digging inside the Chicxulub Crater, and as they dug, they found fish whose lungs were full of debris. And when they go into a house on fire, or there's some carbonized bodies, the question is, were the bodies dead before the fire or after the fire? And they look for traces in lungs, which means that if the ashes and the debris from the impact are inside the lungs, then that's a proof. It's a proof that the animals, the fish in that case, was alive. If the lungs are clear, then basically you could say the fish was dead before the impact. And because they found the debris, that is a supporting evidence, especially as they found dinosaur tracks, basically the footsteps. The dinosaur tracks were very, very near physically to those dead fish. So they believe that this new piece of evidence supports the fact that our dinosaur friends finished their existence because of the crater more than the volcanic activity. But the story continues. We are going to probably have more episodes in this search for our past. And the reason why they think it's important is because these climate changes created extinctions, and we are, as a human species, creating a climate change. And we need to think about, well, if a few degrees Celsius created this major change in the ecosystem, and we are about to warm up the planet by a few degrees, what can we learn from it? What we learn from it is that nature is very resilient. It's very resistant. It survived the crater. It survived the volcanoes. It survived billions of years. So we can be sort of confident that nature is very, very strong, and that we'll find a way into the future no matter what happens. All right, guys.